Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Aviation Daily. Today there is a lot of news to talk about. There were lots of airlines that released financial statements for the first quarter of 2019 this week, so we're gonna go into all of that today. Firstly, we have some news from WestJet from Canada. The airline has had to cancel multiple flights and change its schedule as the airline deals with the continued grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Flights between Halifax and Paris have been suspended from June 3rd through August 2nd, and WestJet says guests will be rebooked either through Calgary non-stop on its Boeing Dreamliner jets to Paris or with one of its partner airlines through Toronto, Montreal, or New York. Flights between Edmonton and Ottawa and Edmonton to Montreal have also been suspended for most of June, and WestJet says guests will be rebooked through either Calgary or Toronto on WestJet operated flights. Service between Toronto and Kailua in British Columbia and Vancouver and Regina will also be suspended for much of June. Also, 2 days ago, WestJet commenced transatlantic service with their new Boeing 787 Dreamliner. WestJet currently operates two 787 Dreamliners. The aircraft spent more than a month operating domestic flights between Calgary and Toronto as a way to make the crews familiar with the new aircraft. It is now being fully deployed on the Calgary to London Gatwick route. Later this year, the Dreamliner will also fly to Paris and Dublin from Calgary in Canada. The US Federal Aviation Commission said it would impose new safety checks on the plane maker's 787 Dreamliner. The new Airworthiness Directive, which will come into effect on June 3rd, will include inspections and checks for some of the plane's parts, as well as inspections of aileron and elevator power control units. The FAA said the new directive was prompted by reports of hydraulic leakage to the units caused by lightning strikes. We are adopting a new airworthiness directive for all Boeing Company Model 787 series airplanes, said the FAA. This AD was prompted by reports of hydraulic leakage caused by damage to aileron and elevator actuators from lightning strikes. This airworthiness directive requires an inspection or record checks to inspect for certain parts, detailed inspections of aileron and elevator power control units, and applicable on-condition actions. Furthermore, Fly Dubai chairman warned on Monday that the airline could order Airbus A320neo aircraft as replacement for the Boeing 737 MAX jet, telling Boeing to improve communication with customers. Also, on the 737 MAX, 10 new lawsuits filed in Chicago against Boeing on behalf of two Canadian families which each lost 3 generations on the Ethiopian crash back in March of 2018. Now, Austrian Airlines reported its earnings for the first quarter of this year, and due to higher fuel and maintenance costs as well as intense competition at Vienna Airport, Austrian Airlines reported a 36% decline in earnings in this seasonally related weak winter of 2019. Nevertheless, Austrian Airlines' strong intercontinental business led to a passenger growth of 7%. Virgin Australia has reached an agreement with Boeing to restructure its Boeing 737 MAX aircraft delivery. The group has restructured its order book, deferring delivery of its first Boeing 737 MAX aircraft from November of 2019 to July of 2021, and converting an additional 15 of its 737 MAX 8 aircraft on order for the larger 737 MAX 10. The agreement means that the Virgin Australia Group will take delivery of its first 737 MAX 10 aircraft in 2021, with the first 737 MAX 8 scheduled to arrive in 2025. The restructure results in a significant deferral of capital expenditure and provides access to the superior economic benefit of the MAX 10 aircraft. Suez has reported a substantial decline in its first quarter earnings for 2019. Adjusted earnings before interest and taxes which is basically profits before taxes for the period of the first quarter, amounted to 47.3 million US dollars, which is 54% down compared to the same period of last year, which was 102 million US dollars. Revenues for the first quarter declined. The revenue stands at $1.14 billion for the first quarter, and it is 2% below the revenue of last year, which was $1.16 billion. Now, continuing on the earnings, Airbus has released earnings for the first quarter of 2019. Consolidated revenue increased to 12.5 billion euros compared to 10.1 billion euros for the first quarter of 2018. This is mainly reflecting the higher commercial aircraft deliveries as the production ramp-up continued. At Airbus, a total of 162 commercial aircraft were delivered, compared to 121 aircraft on the first quarter of 2018. The deliveries were 8 Airbus A220 aircraft, 126 A320, 5 A330s, 22 A350s, and 1 A380. Airbus helicopter delivered 46 units, with increased revenues reflecting the higher volume in service. Airbus's earnings before taxes and interest adjusted improved to 536 million euros compared to a loss of $41 million on the first quarter of 2018. This mainly is due to the A320neo ramp-up performance. A total of 96 A320neo aircraft were delivered in this quarter. Southwest Boeing 737 MAX 8 is positioning to Victorville from Florida. If you don't remember, last month on March 26, the aircraft had an engine failure shortly after takeoff from Orlando, which prompted the FAA to issue engine checks on MAX 8 due to caulking of few nozzles. I've made a video with the live ATC of the Southwest MAX emergency, so if you're interested in this, check the link in the description below. Airlines such as Iberia, Air France, American Airlines, and Air Europa have announced the cancellation of all flights to Venezuela due to the escalation of conflicts inside the country. Delta Airlines has announced it will begin service to Mumbai from New York JFK starting December of 2018. The airline will use the 777-200LR, which stands for long range, with Delta One suites on board. The 29th and final Boeing 787 Dreamliner for Air Canada has just departed Everett on its delivery flight. The aircraft headed to Kansas City for further modifications and interior install. The US FAA has issued a prohibition on US carriers operating in Venezuelan territory and airspace below 26,000 feet, and has given any US operators in Venezuela 48 hours to depart via the most expeditious possible route. That is it for today's video. There was a lot of news, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.